Type
now,
in the chat.
now let me ask you, Patricia, did
Yeah.
did did you not miss a beat? Were you in it? Have you been in it the whole time?
No, I did take a brief. You guys were frozen, so I just took like a 2-minute break.
Okay, but you didn't like close the window or end the meeting or anything like that?
Well, I did end the meeting. My meeting.
No, I'm talking about the Zoom video. This because we re-entered the room, right?
Oh
And I'm just wondering. Well, look, the good thing is we're all together now, so I guess I don't need to worry about it. But I was just curious if you ever like left the Zoom. I know you had to walk out of the room to.
No, I left the Zoom meeting.
But
And
then,
then
so how did we just reconnect just now? If you had left that one, how did you come back to it late? Did you?
I came back and Lauren was here.
Okay, so when you left the Zoom meeting, you didn't click to leave. You simply walked out of the room.
No, I'm pretty sure I left it because you guys were frozen, so I thought I needed to restart it or something. I
Oh,
completely re-entered, and then I see Lauren, and you guys were gone.
Oh my goodness! Wow. And so, Lauren, were you all alone for a little bit?
I was all alone for about 5 seconds.
Oh my gosh!
Well, oh my goodness, that was a close call.
Yeah.
Well, Lauren, you wouldn't believe the synchronicity that we're just having, and we lost Ace, I guess.
Yes, Ace is an unfortunate. Ace is a buddy from England.
Yeah.
Way into the climate stuff.
So Lauren was telling me she's really into collective evolution. I mean, collective
intelligence. Yeah.
Oh, that's an understatement. Lauren wrote the book on collective intelligence.
Wow.
I think I'm about to.
She wanted me to give her an update, but I would rather you guys tell her because, you guys are so great.
Yeah, please. I want to know what happened and what you've kind of harvested from this.
Okay, great, awesome. So we're now 22 hours in. It's kind of surreal because literally aside from this 2-minute break, I think we took a 10-minute bathroom break at some point, and at some other point a 5-minute break, and
crazy.
No, it's totally crazy. But here's the cool thing.
Patricia too. Oh my God, I can't believe you're there, Patricia, for that long.
Well, I didn't come in the very beginning. I think I've only been here 20 hours.
Yeah, she's only been here 20 hours.
I'm sorry, you guys. I just needed to pray this morning.
Patricia, if you're going to have this level of performance, right, this level of tardiness, Patricia, this is not a country club. Okay, this is serious business.
I'm going to be there on time next time. I was having some dark forces attacking me this morning.
Yeah. Whatever. Okay, excuses. All right. Young lady, I don't ever want to see this level of. Anyway, we'll talk about it later. I don't want to like chastise you in front of. Oh, and we're recording anyway. So so we started off with a really awesome 1 hour with Jorge from Mexico City, who is kind of a big sociocracy kind of expert. Sociocracy.
What's his last name?
Here.
It's long. Are you into sociocracy, Lauren?
No, but I did meet someone named Jorge from Mexico City at Mozilla, so I was just wondering if it was the same person.
Okay, it's Jorge Arturo Zubieta Calvert.
No, I don't know him.
Okay. Anyway, super nice guy, and I actually met him in Mexico. I met him first over a Zoom video conference, and then I was traveling in Mexico with my girlfriend Melissa in early January, and anyway, we met in Mexico City, had an awesome time. But we normally meet every week on video conference for a few hours as part of the Vegan Collective Intelligence. So he's a major pillar of Vegan Collective Intelligence. Anyway, he did the whole first hour, or we did it together. And that was from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. And then from 7 a.m. to 9, we had Guy McPherson and Ye Tao working on SRM, solar radiation management. And we had a whole bunch of guys, kind of followers and friends and this and that, because he's got quite a following. And I don't know, we probably had 28, 29 people at peak on that meeting. And
Wow.
but it's funny, most of the people didn't talk. I don't know, probably over the course of the meeting, maybe 10, 12 people spoke over 2 hours, right? So, you know, at any given time, anyway, but it was fine. It was good. And then we just kind of kept going for a while beyond the 2-hour mark. And it was just getting really interesting because there's so many different perspectives that were shared.
Including the guy the who had offered money, right?
Yeah, there was a philanthropist gentleman there who was so impressed with Ye Tao's proposal to cool the planet. All right, first of all, are you familiar with Professor Guy McPherson, University of Arizona? Okay. And had you heard that Bill Gates is funding someone at Harvard doing basically solar radiation management experiments? Okay. So Bill Gates is working with a Dr. Keith at Harvard on a really stupid idea, frankly. We are working with Dr. Ye Tao at Harvard on a badass idea. I can't believe I've scooped Bill Gates at his own alma mater.
Did Bill Gates go to Harvard?
Pardon me?
Did Bill Gates go to Harvard?
He did for like, I don't know, a year and a half or something like that.
All right.
And then he and Paul Allen started working on the operating system for the Altair 2000 or whatever, and the rest is computer history.
Okay.
Anyway, so super awesome SRM meeting, just incredible. So we're now at the point of, all right, how do we get this done? We're beyond discussions of, well, let's think about it and all that. Anyway, so that was SRM. And then, let's see. And then we talked collective intelligence generally for a bit. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the 30 minutes of video that's on the Block Party page on Radish. Okay, anyway, if you want to get a really nice introduction to what our flavor of collective intelligence is, which is mostly in vision. Very little has been developed in terms of software. And even that, well, anyway, it's a long story, but we'll talk roadmap some other time. But actually, maybe fairly soon, depending on your availability, because that's one of the things we're going to cover before 6 a.m. Pacific time in the next 2 hours. But anyway, we'll cover that by and by. And then, so we talked about some of that. This is all recorded. That's the beautiful thing. And then Dr. Silas Rao and Alan Savory. Have you heard of using livestock and essentially planned grazing to regenerate desertifying grasslands like in Africa? Have you heard of that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it was a TED Talk on that I saw.
Exactly. So remember the guy who gave that TED talk was kind of a white-haired gentleman,
Mm-hmm.
you know, a Caucasian, but born in Africa, raised in Africa. Okay, all that. Okay,
Yeah.
that's our guy. That's Alan Savory. So
Okay.
I first interviewed him like in 2015, I think, and then went to a conference of his in late 2016. Anyway, just got really steeped in his whole thing. And then I met that guy, Evan. He's not on camera. It's Nolan's brother, Evan, who's a super cool vegan. And Evan encouraged me to really take the whole vegan thing seriously. So anyway, but even months before that, I met Dr. Silas Rao and worked with him for a bit on veganism. Anyway, bottom line, Dr. Silas Rao is just this major vegan leader. Okay. Alan Savory is Alan Savory, who's all about livestock, right? What happens when you put Alan Savory together with Dr. Silas Rao?
Tell me.
I didn't know either. So, but I'm friends with both of them. So I said, look, let's get together. Let's do this. Right. So we had that meeting from 11 a.m. Pacific time to 1 p.m. So we're going 7 hours strong at this point. That meeting went overtime because there's all these vegans there and they're basically, I'm exaggerating. It wasn't that bad.
Well, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. But as far as the vegans are concerned, he deserves it and much worse. But anyway, I'm just kidding. No, it wasn't that bad. But anyway, it was.
Okay, it wasn't.
It was just anyway. But the thing is, we cast it as an opportunity for collective intelligence to work with these two people who could be debating, but let's have a collective, constructive, exploratory conversation and even set an example for how good it can be if we do it right. Now, in preparation for that, because today's meeting was a big public one with, I don't know, a couple dozen people hanging out and participating in various degrees of participation. What I did was, instead of jumping right into that fire, yesterday, or technically Thursday, we had our first gathering of me and Dr. Silas Rao and Alan Savory, but just the three of us. We did broadcast, we did record. I'm actually sorry we did, because I tried to, and I actually believed that we could just have this really gentle, but the fact that we broadcast and recorded it put them on the spot. So in hindsight, I wouldn't have done that, but we did it, and it was a great meeting, but it just became a bit too positional. But today, I think, did a lot to sort of make that better, even though there was some flack from, anyway, it was just, but in the end, it was like 6.5 hours with those two leaders picking our way through some serious stuff.
Whoa.
between the 2 days. And then as soon as we were done, I think we went like an hour and 20 minutes overtime. So it was like 3 hours and 20 minutes today. Then Michael Gaio steps in and does a really great session on mythos, co-creating a new story for humanity.
Oh, great. Yeah, I wanted to. Who is that?
Michael Gaia.
I don't know him.
You will
But
soon.
I want to.
You will soon. Yeah. Awesome stuff. Anyway, so he just jammed, and we all jammed together, and it was really great. And then,
And how much did you record of this?
like all of it.
Okay.
The only stuff we didn't record was when you two ladies were talking before we popped in.
No, we didn't say anything.
That's the only portion that didn't get recorded.
Okay.
And we recorded some pretty embarrassing stuff. I mean, I basically feel like what was that movie, like The Truman Show or something? I'm basically Truman, right? I mean, like I go to the bathroom and there's Nolan with the laptop following me. The toilet flushes. You get the picture. Anyway, it's basically Truman. It's basically Truman Show, except broadcasting to the world, recorded for history, all that. Anyway, so.
Yeah, it's showing that we're really willing to be transparent.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, see, for us, this is an important part of our formulation of collective intelligence, radical collective intelligence. It's just this, it's total transparency for whoever wants. Obviously, it's always consensual, but but the beauty of it is that once a critical mass of us consents and we're playing the game, right, then it'll be a lot easier for the other primates to jump in and do the monkey see, monkey do thing.
Yeah. I just want to add that sometimes radical transparency can be a little sticky. Like, what happens is if, as a group, you're conducting this radical transparency and then someone has a mental health episode, there are just certain sticky things to deal with that make it tricky sometimes, and we don't know how to do that in a transparent environment. So I just gotta throw that in there.
Totally.
And
I gotta run and drop my brother off real quick, give him a ride. It shouldn't take more than 5 or 10 minutes. But will I see the two of you when I get back? And Jorge now?
No.
is Jorge from Mexico City?
Where did you see Jorge?
He's right there.
Oh, Jorge.
Is that Jorge coming back?
Jorge, are you back?
¿Eres tú?
Drive safe, bro.
Jorge's already famous.
Wait a second. Hello from Mexico City. It is Jorge. Sweet.
Eres tú, Jorge.
Eres tú, Jorge. ¿Qué pasó?
Joining in meditation? Everyone is
Everyone
sleeping.
is sleeping. Okay, very good. Muy bien. Okay. And we still don't know who Bob is or who's dialing in on 808 or whatever. Okay. Anyway, welcome everyone. And you guys
I wouldn't mind, I would love to hear Lauren's kind of maybe a little, but I know she wants to hear about what the rest of this. So.
Oh yeah, I'm just gonna hug Evan goodbye, and I'll be right there.
Oh, okay. So it did kind of seem like we had a situation where somebody was a little out of control.
And I just hear you being like,
Are you recommending that
oh, we'll tell you about it. Oh,
we edit that?
Yeah, that's the question. I don't have any recommendations. I don't know, because those are the things that are like,
So it's like,
they're just some questions. I don't know the answer.
But I'm glad you brought it up, really glad you're here, Lauren. Welcome. I'm glad to meet you.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Oh my goodness, so awesome to have everyone here. Just awesome. So anyway, shall I continue with my recap?
Yeah.
I mainly want to know, like, what insights did you glean? Like, what was the most important learning?
The most important learning is that these 24-hour marathon block parties are a beautiful format.
Okay.
And this first one was, just somewhat planned. We got a couple, 2 or 3 big kind of anchor anchor tenants in there, and then just filled in the rest. And then so I think, and when we went kind of unscheduled and just kind of free form, we kind of got into some little bit just kind of blah blah waters, because you have a whole bunch of personalities there and there isn't a set topic, and then people just start going off. But fortunately we were able to get out of those waters. Hey, sweetheart.
Hey, honey.
Now you know Patricia. It's Patricia.
Hi, cool hair.
and meet
That's awesome.
and meet Lauren. Meet Lauren.
Hi, how are you?
Lauren, I told you about Lauren. She's the one who she
yeah.
works with Charlie Blass.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
You joined. Great.
Yeah.
Where are you at, Lauren?
What?
Where are you at?
I'm currently in Florida, but I live in Paris.
Okay.
Yeah, we live in Manhattan. No, I'm just kidding.
You live
we she lives in Paris.
Tu parles français?
Oui, je parle français.
Ah, super. J'ai grandi en Europe.
Ah, c'est cool. Génial.
En Belgique. La Belgique.
Well, do you think, Jamin, we should just recap the van story?
Totally. Let me get that. That's a good example.
And I would just say that I feel like what happened was I determined that I was going to stay the whole time, except for when I just couldn't get in on the first 4 hours. But I just sensed that if I stayed the whole time, something significant would happen. And it just seemed like in the wee hours of the morning, there was a real small group of us, and we just kind of clicked, something clicked.
Totally.
And we also learned that singing and laughter and
Well, you went through some storms too, which was interesting.
yeah.
Been on a big journey. And you made it through, past all the sirens.
Yeah, so it was a real journey to get to the place where now Jamin is going to share with you. After we just did a little bit of brainstorming, we took a 10-minute break, and Jamin comes back, and here he is.
Okay.
With this idea that we've helped him tweak.
Okay. So we figured out a plan for the next block party being on February 21st, starting at same time, 6 a.m. Friday morning. So we're going to start each of so far 17 different meetings that we have planned. And there's going to be a leadership team, which you are all invited to be a part of. Melissa, Lauren, and Patricia and I, and Nolan, probably Evan, Jamie if he's available, and Anne if she's available, Benjamin and Suzanne. Well, anyway, it's kind of hard to get people to sign up for a 24-hour block of a 24-hour meeting, right? Did somebody get the decimal wrong? Is that like a 2.4-hour meeting? Even that would be long. No, 24, that's just impossible. So anyway, but basically whoever's game, and here's the cool thing, it's going to be modular, so you can just sign up for whatever chunks you want. But here's the ideal. The leadership team will be at the kickoff of each of these 17 meetings. And the kickoff, the longest kickoffs are 2 hours long, others are 1 hour long, others are even 20 minutes is the shortest, depending on the topic. So here are the topics. So this is for SRM, okay? And again, we're game time now. It's time to make SRM happen, period. I mean, unless someone can show us that there's a better way. to cool the planet in time, right? Okay, and we're always open to that. So meeting number 1, analysis. Oh, I'm still going to use that, sweetie.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. So I'll just take care. I'll take care of all that. Okay. So meeting number 1, analysis of all the alternatives to SRM and exactly how much impact each of those. We need to know our enemy. These aren't our enemies, but these are the alternatives that somebody might say, well, isn't a carbon tax going to save it? Our answer, instead of being, no, bam, our answer is going to be, oh yeah, a carbon tax, that'll contribute this amount. Here, I made a little drawing that makes the point. Okay. So you have basically SRM and the 7 dwarves, right? So we'll basically have most of it's going to, of the total cooling that we require, we're just going to show that most of it's SRM and a few very thin slivers for the other parts, which are like carbon tax, getting rid of all fossil fuels, carbon sequestration.
Well, you know what would help, Jamin?
Yeah.
If you put together a nice graphic that, you don't even have to put together the graphic, but a chart showing all the alternatives, and then how you do these comparison things when you're like shopping around for software. And
yes, with the X's and the O's. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And or the green and the reds of what
Yeah.
it offers, and that would really help, I think, show.
Sure. Totally. Good
Great.
stuff.
And
Good.
it would be nice if you could produce a document by the end of it, so that you have everyone who comes is like giving a small piece of the document.
Yeah. That makes sense. Well, and actually, so then the leadership team, let's just say there's 5 of us on the leadership team. The leadership team would be at literally each one of those 17 meetings, okay, that I'm going through right now. And then after the leadership team, but it'd be the leadership team plus, and we just use the analogy or the metaphor, SEAL Team 1 for meeting number 1, SEAL Team 1 being those experts for that topic outside of the leadership team. And just just to give it some flavor, we're assuming there's 6 people in the SEAL team and 5 of us in the leadership team. So there'll be 11 people kicking off each topic. So here's how we go. So we'd spend the first 2 hours on analysis of alternatives and that whole report that we were just talking about. At the end of those 2 hours, in other words, at 8 a.m., we start at 6 a.m. At 8 a.m., the leadership team leaves that topic and goes to kick off topic number 2, which is design. Design of the floating mirrors and design of the arrays, the vast arrays of floating mirrors. That's at 8 a.m. That goes from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. And just as with topic number 1, with topic number 2, there will be SEAL Team 2, another 6 experts, no overlap with SEAL Team 1, who are experts in design of such things, or whose expertise would be valuable inputs for the design, I should say. Everything from ocean engineers to wave experts, to marine biologists, to glass technologists, to mechanical engineers, to civil engineers, etc. Okay, and then, so that's the design team.
Can I just jump in a second?
Yeah,
Say
yeah.
something? So, you've got this list, which is really great. There are a number of topics or issues and things that came up in those conversations. Like one of them is, how do we get people, humanity, involved in the conversation and caring about the planet, for example. And so I think there are a number of people who have different ways to influence the public or public opinion. And I think it would be really helpful to take a topic like that and introduce it and bring people in who are doing different activities, if I may call them that,
Mm.
that address an issue like that.
Mm.
So art is a really good example of that,
Mm.
right? Art is a really great vehicle for making the revolution irresistible. And it's something Ye jumped on right away when I brought that up. So I think that should be one of the topics. It's like, how do we influence and get a consensus from the public to help a project like Ye's move forward?
Mm.
I would add that in with your list, for example.
That's not necessary.
No?
You know why?
Why?
It's already on the list.
Oh, okay. There you go.
You want to hear the rest of the
Yeah, I
list?
do. I just gotta turn the kettle off. Hold
Okay.
on a second. Sorry,
All
guys.
right. So number 3 is holistic computer modeling of the whole world and everything that's relevant. So this would combine an ocean model with a climate model, with a wave model, etc. Because that's to find the optimal locations of these arrays of mirrors. How many around the equator, how many in the Arctic, etc. Topic number 4, implementation, and that has 2 subtopics: planning and execution. Welcome back, Nolan. We're just going through the list.
Want some tea?
Oh, you guys haven't left yet?
No, I dropped him off, but there's not a ferry for another 45 minutes, and now he's just out in the cold, so I'm going to join you on my phone and go give him some warmth for a little while.
Yeah. Sounds good. Okay. You have the link, right? Of course you do.
Huh?
You have the link to join, right?
You have the link.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So next is number 5 is PR. Okay. I'm just going to rattle through the first 4 just so we have context. Number 1, analysis of alternatives. Number 2, design of the mirrors and arrays. Number 3, holistic computer modeling. Number 4, implementation. Number 5, PR and mass media, traditional mass media. Number 6, social media. Number 7, alternative media. Number 8, politics. Number 9, geopolitics. Number 10, finance. And then there's 4 sub-bullets under finance: philanthropists and foundations, governments, private sector, religious sector. And there's probably others. This is just kind of a rough first pass. Next topic, culture and story.
Oh, yeah.
Right? How does human culture need to transform, right?
Yeah.
Next topic, and what is the new story for humanity that encompasses and incorporates? Okay. Number 16, arts and media.
Yeah.
And, media, we've already got 4 topics that have the word media in it, but it's both the art and the media through which we'll deliver that art.
Yeah.
Okay. And the final topic we came up with, that Patricia came up with specifically, is humor. Specifically humor. Is that a subset? It's a subset of art, but it really needs its own sort of focus, I would say. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good one.
So anyway,
Do you want tea? You want a tea?
let's see. No, I'm okay with it. Thanks, sweetheart. Thank you.
It's
Okay.
important to note, you're probably going to share now how each highway they can keep going in the lane.
Oh, yeah. Well, I use this highway lane van analogy metaphor to kind of show, like, of those 17 conversations, think of them as 17 different lanes. Each lane is a conversation, and different conversations start at different times. So it's sort of like a stair step time-wise, because the leadership team wants to be at the initial, hour or 2, depending on the meeting, of each of those 17 meetings.
They can keep going on another Zoom channel or chat room, depending.
Yeah, exactly. They'll be in their own conversation, their own Zoom channel. They'll be recording. They'll be doing their thing. So,
And we'll have a facilitator and a timekeeper, and we're creating policies.
Oh yeah. Well, that's a separate topic. The policies.
Okay,
We
sorry.
started working on policies. Okay. But anyway, and so that's going to be next weekend. So by 17 hours in or so, there will be 17 different meetings happening, unless, of course, a meeting adjourns early. But I mean, there's so much work to do across each of these areas that, I mean, if we have the people, right? Everything good out there?
Yeah.
Okay. That if we have the people, then there will be 17 different teams working on all 17 of those topics. And anyway, the lanes map to the lanes that we talk about in the 30-minute video that you'll see, Lauren. So that's it for SRM. And, and we've got a week to fill up each of those topics with their respective SEAL teams. So that's that for SRM. For the following week, the following Friday, February 28th, we want to do a similar process with another 17 topics for the mega topic of collective superintelligence. So, Lauren, perhaps we can meet sometime during the week and map that one out, right?
Yeah, I wish I knew more.
Well, I'll tell you what. Knew more about what?
Collective superintelligence.
When you spend 30 minutes watching 30 minutes of video, right, which you'll find on the Block Party page on Radish, it'll all be super clear to you, totally clear. And in fact, that meeting, Charlie was at that meeting, so you'll see his face in those 30 minutes of video.
Who?
Charlie Blass.
Oh, I will. He was on?
He was on. So was Tom Atlee. So was Michael Gallo.
Okay.
So
Who I need to talk to.
Who you need to talk to anyway. So was Michael Gosney. So was Nolan. And you and I were on.
Really good
Benjamin and Suzanne. It was Ann Mitchell. It was just a really great mix. Wonderful, wonderful mix. And that whole meeting went for like 4 hours and 15 minutes or something like that. But out of that, we've filtered out the 30 minutes of gold nuggets that if you just watch those 30 minutes, you're good to go. Of course, if you want to watch more, all the timestamps are there. So you can say, oh, gee, I wonder what they talked about 2 minutes before that. Just rewind it 2 minutes and you're good to go.
So what do you guys think about the plan? We'd love to have questions, concerns, and objections. Wouldn't we? Don't we?
Heck yes. Goodness, heck yes.
I really enjoyed how the day was structured, if I could call it structure. I really enjoyed having those keynote speakers and then having conversations with and around what was brought up. I really like this as a follow-on because I think the conversation with Ye and Guy really broke into some interesting conversations, like the philanthropist, for example, who stepped forward and started talking about financing the project and what it would take to get the modeling to happen, et cetera. I thought that was really helpful. And then we talked about artful activism, how to use that to get public consensus and help people pass fear and into building together solutions. So I think that makes, that's really nice, this list that you've come up with, because it really picks out topics that came up that we can explore further. So it seems like a nice evolution from today.
Yeah.
One of the things I keep bugging Jamin about is getting more women as the speakers, because it's still very patriarchal.
Yeah, I mean, we're a full 25% in the present meeting. I mean, it's just atrocious. We got to get men
I'm
down
talking about the main speakers. So I think we should somehow bring women in to talk about the divine feminine, about social justice, environmental justice. I mean, there are lots of things we could explore. So I think that's something, Patricia and Lauren, that maybe you can help with, bring in, maybe Lauren, you be one of the speakers, or I'm happy to talk about artful activism because I'm involved in that domain. So I think that's something we need to explore.
Yeah, totally.
We need people of color, we need African Americans, we need First Nations in order for this to be a complete voice. And I just have a question then. So from week to week, how do you see it building? Did you talk about that?
So the general framing for it is this is going to go exponentially, driven by the urgency for SRM. Now, SRM has been urgent for years. It's just that humanity has not really had a practical way of knowing that. Now, with Australia on fire, the last of the Arctic ice melting, I mean, it's just, it's like that quote from Ernest Hemingway. He went broke slowly and then all at once.
Yeah, good one.
The climate, anyway, we went broke slowly and then poof, just gone, right? This is the beginning of poof. Poof hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Right? Poof the magic dragon hasn't barbecued the planet yet, but he's just about to go, he's just about to blow, and this is our moment to stuff a giant rolled up stockings bundle in Poof's mouth.
I just want to bring up carbon sequestration because here in the Northwest, that's what everybody's doing, in conversation, in rallies, in everything. It's all about that. And I'm just wondering, how did that movement take off? Like, how did we start talking so much about that all the time, and even in politics now? So how do we get SRM to become the leader and not carbon sequestration? How do we do that?
Let's see.
How do we get that into everybody's
Did you see this
plate?
Did I show you this thing?
No.
Okay. So what we're going to do, this is what I'm about to show Melissa that I showed you ladies a few minutes ago. It's SRM and the Seven Dwarves. Okay. So we're going to, the seven dwarves are like carbon tax, decarbonizing the economy, nuclear power, solar, holistic land management, basically everything that's not SRM.
Okay.
Everything that's not SRM, and each of those is going to be a relatively tiny slice. And then boom, SRM. But this will be based on objective analysis. That's why we're putting together a whole SEAL team around this one.
Okay. That'd be, just talking about humor, Patricia, that would be a great cartoon. Like to have an animation or an illustrator.
And you know what? Let's call it SRM and the Seven Dwarves.
Mm-hmm.
Can you paint? You want to paint
Alice.
it? Alice. Okay, yeah, that's right. We'll get Alice. Alice
She'll do something great.
Alice is Melissa's daughter. She's the one who drew up the collective intelligence block party banners and images, and even the stuff on chalk on the homepage and all that. You saw that, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
It's really great.
Anyway, Alice did all that. So she'll do an SRM and the Seven Dwarves. To answer your first question, sweetheart, is why did carbon become so popular in this, right? And I've got two answers to that question. And Jorge can provide a third.
Hi, Jorge. Want to come sit down again?
Yeah,
is there
come-
room?
Yeah, come on and see.
There's hot water too if you want tea.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, help yourself.
Squeeze in there, boy.
We're on the home stretch. Dude, we're
Yeah.
23 hours
Yeah,
in.
right on, you guys.
23 hours.
And no naps.
None,
No
well,
nap.
none for me.
Oh,
This,
I did have a nap.
yeah. And then Evan was sawing logs. But anyway.
The old guard, you know,
Okay.
hanging in there.
All right. So I have two answers to the question, why did carbon become so popular as opposed to SRM? Number one, when presented with the problem, and this goes back decades, oh, global warming, what's it caused by? Greenhouse gases. What's the solution? Take away the greenhouse gases. That's number one. Number two, there's a lot of folks with a lot of financial interests in seeing a carbon tax be implemented, because then they're going to cash in on all their early investments in basically solar, renewables, whatever, right? That's about it. Those are my two answers.
How do we make solar radiation management with mirrors more popular?
Number one, we do the analysis of alternatives, SRM and the Seven Dwarfs. But then the humor part of it, listen, Nolan, Alice is going to drop a cartoon of SRM and the Seven Dwarves. And we're just going to make the Seven Dwarves look like just freaking bumbling, bumbling, well-intentioned, little kids, right?
And the poison apple is carbon sequestration that Sleeping Beauty ate. Because we're all asleep right now.
No, that was Snow White. Snow White ate. Wasn't it? Snow White ate the apple. It was Sleeping Beauty. Actually, that was different.
All right. Anyway, we're going to art and humor that out.
Hey guys,
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna have to go because it's starting to rain out and people are sleeping inside. So
Where are you?
it's starting to get rained on.
Oh, are you in Florida?
She's in Florida.
And it's raining? Oh,
Yeah, it's raining.
Well, it's good to meet you, Lauren.
Yeah,
And thank you for joining us. I hope this was interesting for you.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the video, especially on collective intelligence. That's great. And I really admire your dedication.
we certainly have that.
yeah, please come
Absolutely.
bring some of your ideas and inspiration to the
All right, bye everyone.
Thanks so much,
Thank you
Lauren.
so much
for coming by.
See you soon. Thank you so much. Really
Thank
appreciate it.
you.
Yeah, great to see you. Great to meet you.
Mhm.
Awesome.
No, that was super cool.
See, if
No,
you hang in 24 hours, you never know who will turn up.
I mean,
Yeah.
she is perhaps the heaviest hitter we know in the collective
She's
intelligence.
super humble, modest.
Yeah, well, you should read her white paper. You think
It's really
think
good.
Einstein wrote it or something like that?
Wow.
Yeah, or Steiner, or
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's just wow.
Wow.
I mean, I'm sure she had some help. I think Charlie contributed to it. I don't know who else, but maybe it was just the two of them. We don't know. But bottom line, she's the lead on that, and wow. And also, she's organizing a whole bunch of cool meetings, right, that are public, right, and that are on collective intelligence and different facets of collective intelligence.
Mm.
So Charlie Blass, Tom Atlee, and probably a handful of other folks are like these intellectuals of collective intelligence, right? Who've written up a whole bunch of cool stuff.
And here it is in action, right here.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Hey, you know what? I think I might bow out because I'm nodding.
Oh my goodness. Late to arrive, early to leave. How many hours have you worked today?
How far are you into the end zone?
We're less than an hour away.
I guess we need a little something break.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's an opera. Good thing Jamin's not a soprano.
Oh.
Crystal will go crack it.
The thing that I'm wondering is that I'm hearing Melissa giving some ideas of like bringing women in and you know talking about other topics, and I'm wondering, Melissa, how you feel about having a very focused meeting like we're talking about that isn't necessarily trying to get like you know, it seems like Vegan World 2026 is really trying to bring everybody together in a very I mean, of course Jorge is helping to just make sure everybody's included in decision making and the vision aims and everything. But we've kind of come up with something that is really focused, and I don't know, I mean, who makes the decisions here, Jamin? Are you the person who makes the final decisions? I guess that would, and I like the idea, and I actually kind of like the idea of having a benevolent dictator right now. It's okay with me, but I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. What we'd like to have is a board, essentially an advisory board, or a board of directors, basically the controlling body, have a super majority of women. So that could be the two of you, and you know, and then me, and then maybe Nolan and I would swap out. You know, maybe we'd trade off every month or something like that.
No, we have to have Nolan and.
But we want a super majority. Here's the thing: Nolan can be in the meetings, but when it comes to vote on stuff, we want a super majority of women, right? So if the men start playing sausage fest or sword fighting or whatever, pick your metaphor, right? Then the women can basically step aside and say, look, these guys have lost it. What do we do?
Yeah.
And then, you know,
we had an example of that today.
We've had an example of that today.
Yeah,
okay. So anyway, so this way, and you know, I'm just, you know, I just think that I think, because I don't want to be a dictator, and I don't want anyone to be a dictator, right? And certainly not a male.
Well, maybe we rotate it or something, so everyone gets an opportunity. Well, Jorge can jump in, and we can talk about that through the sociocratic principle
versus the sociopathic principle.
But I just wanted to, can I just change the subject quick for a second? Just go back to what you were saying, Patricia, about, so I just wanted to see if I understood what you're saying. So can I repeat back what I think I understood you saying is that we're really focusing in on SRM. And it sounds like you might think that by bringing in more women, people of color, other voices, if I could say it like that, that it might take us off course. Am I hearing that? Is that what I'm hearing?
Not so much that if they start coming in this next time and talking about topics like social justice, unless we have that as a topic that needs to be talked about. Yeah. It'd be great to try to get in these experts. Let's bring in more women, as many people of color, bring them in on these topics that Jamin described. Mm-hmm. So instead of talking specifically about, getting broad.
Yeah. I think that's right. I wasn't intending for us to sort of fracture out off the topic of SRM.
Okay.
But it's inevitably we're going to have to talk about those things.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because the environmental things that are happening and social justice are totally interconnected, but they don't have to do with technical aspects of SRM, like in how do we get this up and moving forward, except that we need to reach, it sounds like, a broader humanity to move this forward. And
well,
so,
maybe that's the outreach.
yeah, so it's going to include all these other groups of people. I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there.
No, I think that might be another topic, is just broad outreach. How do we enroll the general, just everybody? That's a big topic, but what do you think? I mean, that's really, we didn't have that as a topic.
And no, we didn't. And maybe, I don't know, now that we're talking about this, maybe that's not what's needed to move SRM forward. I mean, maybe what has to happen is, because Ye's done his research and now he needs to model it. And so really what we need to do is find the finances for him. I mean, not us personally necessarily, but somehow within the group. But here's a thought, now that we're talking about this, the more people that know about mirror reflection for SRM, I think that's going to give more people hope than something we know doesn't work, like solar sequestration of carbon. So you have to get that message out there. Somehow you have to get the project known so that people can go, oh, wait a minute, this is actually what we need to be doing.
And that's why we have three public relations tracks. The social media, there's three. So that's on those topics that we're going to discuss.
Here, let me read them off. We've got
I agree.
we've got, pardon me?
So I'm just saying you're right. You're absolutely right.
So we've got PR and mass media, traditional mass media. That's one topic.
Mm-hmm.
Another is social media.
Mm-hmm.
A third is alternative media.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones that are directly media. And then we also have arts and media.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have humor. And we also have culture and story. So we've got, we've really got the full spectrum here of really, hard stuff like science and engineering, softer stuff like humor and culture. And
the one you don't have in there are advocacy groups, because if you think of the 350s.org, they're really focused on carbon sequestration, and they're really active in the US. And I know quite a few of the I don't know what to call them, the directors or leaders or of different parts of that organization. And that is their focus right now: social justice and carbon sequestration. So like, how would we, and they have a huge following. So they have lots of people who volunteer, who go to their bank standoffs, who, like Extinction Rebellion, go super glue themselves to buildings, etc. So how would we convince other organizations, whether if that's what we want to do, like Extinction Rebellion, 350s, I'm sure there are others, would it be useful to help somehow introduce them to this as the actual solution? How do you get buy-in? I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So that they shift their focus and then they have an influence on a broader audience. Is that the media that's going to do that, Jamin, do you think?
If who shifts their focus?
Well, all these groups like Extinction Rebellion or 350s.
And how might they shift their focus?
Well, that's what I'm asking. How would we get I'm asking, is there another besides media?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I just wrote down the topic partnerships. And then we could partner with these different, I mean, ideally we reach out to them, very proactively and early on in the process to say, hi, I'm little old me and I'd love, and that's very easy for them to say sure to, yeah, let's talk, whatever. So we strengthen our connections because we already have connections with Extinction Rebellion and the 350s and other organizations. I mean, I'm part of the Sierra Club, et cetera, et cetera. So
Giving talks would be useful as a tool, for example. Like the more we talk about something, right?
Yeah.
The more people will talk about it.
Definitely.
So of course that's more local giving talks, but I think it could still be of influence, and you get the press in when somebody gives a talk about something that's valuable.
Oh, Patricia, you're muted.
Thanks.
I think first of all, I want to say I'm really happy you're here, and Melissa, and thank you so much for clarifying what I was saying instead of making assumptions. So that felt really good. And and I think that would be a track of that, the speaking. What would the broad track, because I'm calling these tracks, but I know they're also called they're lanes. So speaking, that grassroots thing, what would that be under? What would that track be? Just general outreach?
I would put that actually under alternative media.
And you know what?
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure if that's satisfying you, Melissa, but the really neat thing is that if we can put out this list somehow, and maybe even a survey, I don't know, but just start gathering people's resources even before the meeting starts. And if we think of another track before the meeting next week, you guys can talk about, or we can, we can let this, we're exhausted, we're ecstatic. I don't know how we came out with these ideas when we were so tired.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking maybe we could let it incubate a little bit and do something kind of soft for the rest of this time, a little softer, a little completion, a reflection,
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Is that okay? Because
absolutely. I just wanted to just sort of, before we go off what we were talking about, if I may, I just want to say I think the list that you guys came up with is a really good skeleton that you can dress now. And I think things are going to come to us along the way as well.
Yeah, it's good enough for now, safe enough to try. Right, Jorge?
That's so great.
And that attitude just helps so much, because I can tend to be a perfectionist, and we have so I guess one way I would love to start ending, and we can just kind of play this by ear, but just appreciation, just pour the appreciation on, because appreciation for really helps our brain. Of course, it helps our connection. Does anybody object to some appreciation and celebration?
I think it's very much in order. Very much in order.
And so with the word appreciation, my spirit goes immediately to Mother Earth. And just that gratitude for life. For the life force.
And I feel so grateful that Heyman, that whatever idea this was, 24 hours, I would have never imagined something. I mean, I just, I've always wanted to do something for a long time. Let's not be rushed. Let's just, I just value that, appreciate that you're willing to take this risk, all of you, and do something so different. It's really been, and I think I think there's going to be more appreciation flowing. I just want to start with that one thing and pass on. We could pretend to hold something, hold the, we could hold, you guys could have something to hold. I can hold a little elephant. I got a little elephant. So now I'll pass it to you guys. Here you go.
Oh, thanks. Wow. Oh, well, I am so grateful to have all of you, and that we are totally in alignment on the mission. And I'm so grateful to be alive at this moment in history when we're about to make this massive phase transition for humanity and really come together. And I'm just so grateful for my parents and everyone who's helped raise me. I'm so grateful for you, my queen, for being my queen.
Thank you, love.
And I'm so grateful for Nolan for jumping on this train when it was kind of semi-stalled on the tracks.
That's great. Amen.
Jamie and I were kind of stumbling down the highway trying to hitch a ride.
Old winos.
Beat up, down to our last couple cigarettes. And then Nolan shows up with a brand new Ford F-350 powered diesel turbo, full tank, and we just hop in. He's like, where you boys going? And we said, oh, we don't know, sir. Said, well, I got a vision. Why don't you come with me? Okay, sir. And then all right, BJ. What are you doing up so early?
All right. Welcome back.
Hey, good morning. I was in bed thinking about my speech and thinking about you guys, and I had a speech next week, and I was just laying there, and finally I got up, and here I am.
We're all jumping back in at the end, or at the beginning.
Well,
we're just showing appreciation and celebration and basking in the glow of our time together, as well as we'll probably end with, we have more stuff we might do, like reflection about what could have gone better. What could have
nothing. Nothing could have gone better. I mean, this is just blown away.
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. So y'all made it through. Did you take some naps? I wondered if I would come in here and find you sleeping. I saw you were gone at one for a while there, Melissa. Oh, goodness.
You've been up. Well, I think you had a nap.
Yeah, I got 30 minutes in.
I've been up for 24 hours. No, 25. Well, going on 25 hours because I got up at 5 a.m. and I had slept all of 3.5 hours the night before.
Oh,
yeah.
Woo,
Oh, you were built for this job, baby.
So
Baptism by fire.
here I'm gonna give it to here you go, Evan.
Evan. Oh, she
I'm
remembers your
sharing
name.
the elephant. This is the elephant that we're each.
According to
he's holding.
Patricia,
Nolan.
he's sitting
That's
to your
Nolan.
right.
This is
I
Nolan,
mean,
the brother, the big brother of Evan.
Evan, I'm sorry.
Nolan.
There we go. Okay.
She's tired.
Yeah.
He's tired.
Okay, are you sharing your gratitude and celebration?
I'm just
Thankful for spaghetti. Spaghetti
I am thankful for the spaghetti that Melissa made us.
Oh, yeah.
And just to be here with all you guys has been, and being here with everyone who's joined us today has been so incredible. And there's nothing like that 24 hours.
There's no seriously. There's no comparison because it takes a few hours to get properly warmed up, and then you kind of go through the valley of death where you just feel like you need to sleep and you're just tired and this is stupid, and then you catch this second wind around midnight, and then those special hours. Do not go back to sleep kind of thing. Well, we didn't go back to sleep for nothing.
Breeze.
The morning breeze.
I have secrets to tell you.
Well,
Do
we
not go back to sleep.
we stayed up. We never went to sleep in the first place. We just stayed up all night long.
The thing that
All night.
is happening
All night long.
is that this is a family that's growing, and you keep wanting to come back home. You're like, we're all coming back home to the family.
Yeah.
We've all turned up on this planet at this time to do this work, and each one of us is bringing our souls, our work, soul work, our genius, our gifts, and we're seeding this new earth, this new way of being in the universe and on the planet. And so I think that that's so attractive. Like, who would want to miss that, right? And the more people who know about this, the bigger it's going to crescendo. Get.
We are hitting the golf ball full smack force right in the middle of the sweet spot at the perfect moment. Why? Because this is the moment when the planet is just beginning its final collapse. Boom. She hasn't collapsed yet, but she's cracking, and everyone just found out, essentially in the last 3 to 5 months, everyone found out something they were not willing to look at previously. And the continent of Australia going up in smoke, and the last of the ice melting, and Antarctica starting to fall apart. It's just like it just reached a tipping point that not even BJ's cat can ignore. See, look how she's like crawling all over BJ. Anyway, so the history has been very generous with us because it launched us, or it set us up to launch at exactly the moment when humanity was ready to hear, which is exactly right now. Everyone's freaking out. People are committing suicide. People are shooting up schools. And then we come along and launch this meme that's just going to go, there's a way to solve it. The meme is, there's a way to solve it. There's a way to cool the planet. There's a team that's doing it. They meet every Friday and everyone's welcome, and da-da-da-da-da-da. Bam.
Yeah.
Done.
And so just listening to you, Jamin, here's a thought, you guys, is that I'm just thinking, well, how do more people jump in? And when you think of Sanjay, is that his name? Like, people used like hashtags or key words, key phrases to find us. So,
Yeah.
so what are those ones? Like, how can we spread those out into the world?
Collective
You know?
intelligence, SRM,
Veganism.
ICE 9/11, Mere Reflection, Guy McPherson, Jamin Shively, Nolan Straight, Evan Straight, Jorge, Edible Food Forests, Food Freedom, Vegan World 2026, Patricia,
World family.
World Family. And then also, Patricia has some nice connections and experience with different organizations.
I heard some of those last night. Thank you, Patricia. I got on for a minute. Fantastic. Yeah, remind us, or I don't know if anybody else. Oh, Evan left.
He's on the
Sorry.
ferry.
Well, have you envisioned how more than, say, 30 people could be on Zoom, or 100 people, or, you know, because we are so different. We come from different places, and we have our different learning levels, ways of interacting, and, you know, guidelines for talking, and we have, even vegans can be weird. I bet you've thought about that a lot. You may have even talked about it all night. I don't know.
No, actually, we really didn't talk much about what happened. We just started talking about policies.
Yeah. Yeah, and I meant not just, you know, last night was interesting, but for the future, when we have more people come in, you know, maybe somebody is going to call in and they're very angry, and we won't get to talk, and other people will have things. So I've been trying to think about, well, would we have a vote? Who do we want to vote for next to here? Do we want to have, that might be kind of like, oh, that's feeling bad if I never get any votes. Nobody wants to hear from me, so that wouldn't be good. Maybe if I put a phrase up here, I want to talk about this today. You know, everybody has a topic, and I'm just, it's the first time I've been thinking about it, so I'm new at that. But
Well, maybe we could bring some humor in and have a boxing ring, and the people could just get up and box, you know, like this sort of animated thing with the speech bubbles or something.
Well, actually, the breakout sessions, we haven't really talked about the breakout rooms where maybe we'll have these, if you want to record these, well, you didn't hear our plan, and that, Rebecca, we did come up with a structured plan, so we would have more of a structure, which I don't think Jamin's going to want to go over again unless you really want to. But the thing is that if people aren't connected to, they don't feel like they want to be in those tracks, we do want to have facilitation.
Yeah.
We do want to make sure that there's a leader and a timekeeper, and we talked about timing people, and then there's specific topics, and so, but if somebody comes on and they don't want to go on that track, because we are talking about some very specific tracks, it seems like that's where the breakout rooms, where we don't need to record people.
Yeah.
We want to talk about this, and we can figure this out. You know, come at the top of the hour, tell us what you want to talk about, and we'll see if anybody else wants to join you, and we send them on their way.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good idea, because it can be really disruptive otherwise. And we don't have time anymore, it seems.
Yeah.
You know, we really, like you said earlier, we got to focus on what we need to focus on. SRM.
Yeah, and Jamin converted me.
Yeah, he converted me as well.
He's an SRM evangelical.
Yeah. Maybe we should all wear mirrored outfits or something. Once we've been converted, we get a little cap or something.
I really appreciate you coming on, Rebecca, and giving your feedback. And I guess the question is too, you know, there was a pretty sticky part there. Do we want to, something that we had Lauren dropped in for about an hour, and she said, I don't know if you guys were here when she said, sometimes I said we were into radical transparency, and she said that can be a problem. And you said that also, Jamin, about how you had kind of regretted recording that does, but I'm just wondering if you can edit out those difficult parts because.
Oh, okay. Well, I want to clarify something first of all, which is the part that I regretted recording was not from this 24-hour period.
Right.
It was Thursday.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
not a deep regret or anything like that, but the first meeting with Alan Savory and Silas,
Yeah.
in hindsight, it would have been better if I had not broadcast, not recorded, just got together. But and actually, my first email that I sent to both of them, I actually suggested that, and Alan was like, "No, that's not necessary. You know, let's just get right into it." And I thought that was a good sign, right? That he was like, "No, we don't need to have a pre-meeting."
Is that because you feel like you threw the logs on the fire for the second round?
No, I don't know what you mean by that. What do you mean by that?
Well, I could be interpreting this wrong, but and I didn't sit the whole way through that meeting, but it kind of seemed like because there was some not contentious, but there was tension in the conversation the first time around, and so it seemed like people turned up with their boxing gloves the second time around to defend one of the speakers. Let's just put it that way. And so had it not been broadcast, well, it still would have gotten through the channel anyway. So,
Well, there was.
Why do you regret having broadcast it, James?
Well, it's just a mild regret. I mean, it's just in hindsight.
But why?
It's because I imagine, and I could be wrong, but I imagine if we had not broadcast and not recorded and just had a meeting where we just hung out and burped, right? Then, you know, if one of them had started getting positional, I would have said, hey, you know, look, we're not broadcasting, we're not recording. Let's really let go of the positions and just get to know each other. Silas, get into Alan Savory's world.
Right.
Alan, get into Silas's world.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But you can't do that on stage.
No, you can't. That's right.
Anyway, so that was a great learning. That was a great lesson.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's actually something that I think we can talk about as a family, as a group, because that's going to be beneficial for everyone. Like, how do we not be positional, and how do we keep our minds open so that we can, you know, keep expanding rather than just being divided.
And then Sanjay, who was calling in from Tokyo, he said something really profound, which I think is actually applicable here. He said, in the kingdom, in the palace, there's a dark room. And if somebody has a problem with the king, they go to the dark room. And it's just like, wow. So basically, there's no lights, and there's certainly no video camera recording.
Right.
And you're certainly not live streaming on Facebook Sociopathic Live.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So anyway.
Oh,
That's what I,
Excuse me.
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Jorge had something to say, though.
I think that's what you were saying, Patricia, right? The side room that's not recorded.
Yeah, but yeah, let's hear from Jorge, and then we can jump in.
Well, he's acknowledging us for being on for 23 and a half hours. It'll be a full 24 hours in less than half an hour.
And
It's
it's a
22 minutes.
YouTube live stream going. Oh, he says he can't access it.
Ah.
Oh,
Yeah,
YouTube.
we stopped live streaming when Jamin and I dropped off when Lauren hopped on around that time.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, so I just wanted to say that I have approached, oh boy, I'm going to run out of power in just a minute. But I did, I have a little bit. I have talked to, brought up the topic of having a conflict resolution policy in Vegan World 2026 because already some things have been happening, and of course we need to. We're seeing it happen here, and so Silesh and oh dear, I forgot her name. Starts with a J. She's very active. What is her name? J. Anyway, and Jackie and another J. They're getting together to talk about conflict resolution policy, and I gave a proposal about, first people talking one-on-one, getting some help, etc. And so we probably need to have that, like if something happens in a live stream, like what are we going to do and who's going to intervene, and so I think that would be part of the policy that we're developing. What do you guys think?
I think that's a good idea. And one of the things that we can do now, I'm seeing where this hand signal can really come in. We've used this, but what we could have used I've just seen the first interview with Silas and Alan, was some hand signals, because there was a lot of interrupting and power movement.
Yeah.
And one of the, if we have some signals, when you want some clarifying, you put this clarify. Then the person can keep talking, but remembers. And when you have a lot of people putting up clarify, then you really need to do that. Another symbol, I don't remember now which it is, but you can have a symbol for offensive, or ouch, I'm hurt. And then the person who sees that has some people have planned responses. So it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend. Can you tell me briefly, or can we come back to it later? Because I certainly didn't want to. And that it doesn't mean it's not discussed,
Yeah.
but something like that, so that one doesn't get mad, and there's a way to address it. And there may be some other symbols in there. I think I used to have a list of them, but there are different ones we can use, especially with the screen like this. Now, if it's a lot of people on there, we won't be able to see everybody. But for some, I don't know if that would help in an interview, but I think it might have helped then. Like, can I at least finish my thought? Somebody was asked a question, and the other person never got to explain. And that's happened even in our group, where somebody said they're going to do something and somebody, interrupts a lot.
Yeah. I'm also wondering, because some of us we're together every week on Tuesday. So we really kind of are getting to know each other. And so kind of in the main players group, because that's where it was happening actually a lot. I'm kind of more referring to what happened to you today, Patricia, rather than the conversation with Alan and Silesh. But I'm just wondering, within the main players, if we couldn't have a conversation together just focused on that, and looking at how do we create a safe space, which we've been looking at with Jorge around the vegan collective intelligence, work that we've been doing. I think that could be really helpful also. Like, if the main core body of this being that we're becoming has certain structure or certain way of functioning that we can role model for other people as well. I think that could be really helpful.
Excellent. When a new person comes in, we want a new person, but they're not going to have all the background. So if you help us.
We could have a training video showing them the hand signals, and we could even make it fun and interactive. So like Nolan and I could get on and what,
That's a great idea.
Make it fun.
Yeah.
People respond to humor.
Yeah, Absolutely.
I keep telling you, arts.
Very funny.
So I would highly recommend that we do delete a good part of that part, because if a new person came on and thought, wow, that could happen, what happened to me, like I could handle it, because I have handled stuff like that before, but not very many people would want to be in that situation. And if they come on and say, wow, that's not a safe space, I do not want to be in a group where somebody.
Oh no.
Oh no. She lost power.
Yeah.
Oh shucks.
Oh, she'll be back.
I agree with her.
Yeah. Also, I think this whole swearing thing, like we need to address that as well, the kind of language we use. I grew up in England, so I swear a lot, but I don't swear a lot. You know, I actually train myself to no longer swear. I think language is really powerful, and we have to use it as a tool. And I think there's times when people swearing's may be appropriate, but we also don't know who's watching. We want to have families accessing what's being said, and so I think that has to be addressed also.
And what if somebody comes on and they're drunk, or they're
yeah, that's a good point. Yep. How do we moderate that? You go to the dungeon when you're drunk. You go sober up in the dungeon.
Yeah. The drunk tank.
We'll just have one lane for drunk people.
Yeah.
One thing that helped me was when one of the ministers, she teaches nonviolent communication. And so she had a list of ways to ask things. You know, like I've heard some of you use. So I think Patricia and others may have used that so that it's not so aggressive.
Oh, yeah.
Like, gosh, even when a couple of them were talking, I appreciate how you said that. Did I understand this correctly? Instead of, that's not what you said. Or, you know, a lot of people don't have that.
Right. So it's not combative.
Oh my goodness.
Well done. Is it 24 hours yet?
We're like 10 minutes away.
All right.
12 minutes away.
You're
We're crashing. We're just like parking.
All right.
I'm in awe, you guys.
These two rock, man.
Wait,
Yeah.
Nolan, are you seeing what I'm seeing? It's the Messiah. Messiah is here. Let's see, Hurricane. We're delusional. We're delusional. We haven't slept. And also, Thursday night, I slept 3.5 hours. And then up at 5, started at 6 a.m. local time. Wow.
How do you do it?
I'll tell you how. I'll tell you how. I am absolutely committed that we save life on Earth.
Yeah.
That's how.
Running on spirit.
Yeah, that's it. He's on purpose. Life on purpose. On mission. Hey, Jorge, you jumped in just at the right moment because we were talking about
Hey, Patricia's back.
How to handle conversations that go off the rails. and there's no longer a safe space for people. We decided we had this giant mallet, inflatable mallet, and you just boing.
Right. Well, in the collective intelligence framework or notion, I think that the solution is in Nolan, in Melissa, in Jamin, in BJ, in Patricia, in Mr. Savory, in Dr. Rao. Yeah, let's find out.
Jorge did the very first hour today of the
Oh,
whole 24 hours. Hour number 1,
awesome,
Jorge.
I wish I would have been there. I didn't know you were going to be the first hour. I would have joined, but somehow I missed that.
You can listen on the
It's on the recording. It's on the
I
recording.
know, but I would have liked to have hung out with Jorge and Heyman, Jamin.
I missed that.
Oh my goodness. Is it showing?
No, that's the Jewish king. Anyway, what are you guys talking about? Sorry, my computer ran out of power.
Oh, about interactions, and we had brought up nonviolent communication, and I was just gonna say that like we talked about doing a video with signals, there may be a little, before you join, watch this little video on nonviolent communication so we can have a safe space. I don't know. It's for the main core of y'all to think about, but that just crossed my mind.
And making it comical. Like this. Sorry. I meant timeout.
You would not believe, Jorge, how much laughter and singing, and we even did the hokey pokey. You put your left foot in, you put your right foot out, you put your left foot in, and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. I think this is probably the first time the hokey pokey's ever been done on Zoom.
Yeah, that's probably true. Wow.
He loves it. That's Nolan, right?
I noticed that there's a Bob around. Like, do you know if he's interactive?
He's been bobbing around for a while,
Bobbing around.
but we
Okay.
don't really know
We
who he
don't
is.
bob around.
Oh no, Bob.
In fact, Patricia came up with a song for him. It goes like this: ba 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 around, ba 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 around, ba 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 ba.
That's really good.
Oh my goodness.
And I heard Evan is crossing in a ferry
Evan's in the ferry.
back to mainland.
Back to Seattle. Yep.
Oh wow! So he stayed for 20 something. Here,
Yes.
Evan.
Bobbing around, literally, because he's on the water.
Yeah, well, I'm on the other side now. I'm on the mainland. But
Back in America.
Back in America.
I know.
How was this for you?
Feel free. Sorry, what was that?
I want to know how this 20, how many ever hours you've been on here. How has it been for you? What are you grateful for? What would you change? Or
I'm most grateful for patience. I'm just really grateful for the patience that I've been able to have and the patience that other people have been able to have with one another. Because I think this whole process takes a tremendous amount of patience and humility too. I think when we come into conflict, it's because people's kind of people's agendas are kind of in conflict, or our expectations aren't aligning. And that's really hard. It's hard to come in with expectations or watch your expectations kind of drip away. But I mean, in a 24-hour period, it's like hard to know what to expect, and that's kind of what I like about this. Is with the social club, when it's like maybe a couple hours after doing that week after week, it's almost like I can come to know what to expect. But in a 24-hour period, after like the 6-hour mark, it starts being like, okay, I'm not really sure where this is gonna go after here. And then when I woke up from my sleep to hear Jamin and Nolan just still talking in the room outside, I was just like, man, what are they still talking about?
No, man. When it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and we still had 5 hours to go, I turned to Nolan and I said, man, this is like doing ayahuasca or something like that. Such a trip.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, it's not like you're just staying up watching movies and eating popcorn. You're in meetings constantly. Constantly.
Yeah, but you know what the really neat thing was, that we always had someone joining us. I mean, there was very
Exactly. That's always what spiced it up.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
except for the three of us when we were alone, Nolan and you and I, then we just got into this groove of creating a proposal. I think it took us maybe an hour and a half at the most. And then there was Lauren, but you know, it was just the timing was amazing, because I think we kind of needed that time. Just to
Totally. Oh my goodness.
And I just have to commend you, Jamin, because you've not only kept the conversation going, but you've kept your joy. You've been so kind to everyone, like really welcoming people in and really acknowledging every person fully. And that takes so much energy.
Yeah.
And that was just awesome to witness.
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys appreciated me a lot.
I want to say something about health, because I feel it in my body. Like I have been talking about this sometimes in our Vegan World 2026 meetings, that is taking a toll on my body to be sitting in front of a computer. So Sylvie, that loves moving her body, I like it, but I like it more into like gardening and planting and building houses, like stuff like that, no?
Yeah.
So for me, it's hard to invest breaks into doing some sit-ups, crunches, stretching, like, because it doesn't feel like a natural movement. But she told me, well, Dr. Greger gets on a treadmill and does all his interviews via Zoom or whatever, like walking, no, like moving. So, like, I love you all, and out of everybody, I think that Jamin is the one that is spending most of the time next to Nolan and Ivan and Melissa. But like, we need to find a way to adapt the technology to the nature of the human body, of not being in front of a screen, just stale. Because if this is going to happen, and it is going to happen, first every Friday, 24 hours, and then somehow blend it with the real life of having community, that we can do this also in person. We need to have a way to feel free in our mind and feel free in our movement.
Yeah.
For the sake of transcending the test of time, because of course you can do these kind of things every Friday, but it is like a burnout at the end, no? Like for the body. So
Look at that.
like
that's really cool.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Jorge. Jorge, that's a real, and I was wondering about that myself. So I think, thank you for raising that. And maybe that's where rotation has to start happening too. That's like some Fridays, the core leaders, if I can call them that, would be you, Patricia, and Rebecca, or, you know, that it can switch around. Or that, you know, Jamin gets to take a break and go for a walk or a jog for an hour while Nolan steps in, or Evan or somebody else. Yeah.
Well, I do want to do a countdown. It's 7:59.
All right.
Okay.
Shall we just count down from 60? Or
Yeah.
That's exciting.
or no, let's just go. Okay, 10, 9,
8,
8,
7, 6,
5,
4, 3, 2, 1. 24 hours. Yay!
Happy New Year! Happy New World!
Happy New World.
World.
And happy Valentine's Day, Mother Earth.
Yeah.
Wait, we're still on? No cutting after the 24 hours. Keep going.
Let's do another 24.
I'm about ready to go.
All right. Good night, everybody. Good
Love
morning.
you all.
Good morning.
Love you all.
Jorge, thank you so much. Patricia.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Patricia and I were separated at birth. We determined that. BJ, thank you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome, and thank you.
Evan, thank you so much. My queen.
Love you.
And Nolan, stand up so I can give you a hug.
Let me get out of the way. Let me get out of the way.
Mr. 24-hour man. Oh, you know what? Congratulations. I just figured out a new middle name for Nolan.
Yes.
His new middle name is 24 hours. That way his full name is Nolan 24 hours straight. Boom.
There we
Mr. 24 hours.
Me.
The real 24-hour Nolan. I like it. Okay, guys.
Love you
Ladies,
all.
everybody. Thank you so much.
And Bob, oh my goodness. Maybe
Bob.
we'll meet you one day.
Yeah.
This bud's for Bob. All right,
We
let's
couldn't have done it without Bob.
No, couldn't have done it. No way. Okay. Thanks so much. Have a good night. Love to all. Mwah. All right.